What's up, shaggers? Sam from Team Schism here with Jack and Jamie to talk to you about Genesys format. So, what is Genesys format? It was introduced as an alternate format where the key differences are a points-based system as opposed to a traditional ban list, as well as the complete exclusion of both pendulum and link monsters. This also means the EMZ has been completely erased.
Now, why should you play Genesys format? The format itself has not been as popular as Modern, and even other alternate formats such as Edison, but it is unquestionably a unique experience when it comes to playing and deck building in Yu-Gi-Oh! The lack of popularity could have come down to a few things, such as the timing of events where they were clashing with Advanced, which is a more figured out and familiar game. However, as of both the NAWCQ and the EUWCQ, Konami made the very smart decision to change the event to take place on the Friday before the main event. This gives the opportunity to qualify for day 2 on the Sunday and has led to record attendance.
As for what Genesys offers in terms of why you should play it, however, there are many reasons. The format itself is being supported more than ever before, starting with the WCQs, and they've already announced that there will be both OTS championships and regionals for the Genesys format, meaning that going forward there will be apt time to actually play the format and receive prizing via the new winners packs. Another reason is how it feels like a different way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of skill goes into both playing the game and building the deck list around the points. Even within their own archetypes, there are a lot of unique choices in deck building. It is very strange to see two Genesys decks that look exactly the same. Even in what some would have considered to be tier 0 in Blitzclick, there are so many variations of that deck, such as the going first or second versions, and the Sacred Beast variant that won the EUWCQ.
There's also the point of how modern card game design and game direction is looking somewhat bleak. We all know that with decks like Toon on the horizon, many people have commented on the poor state of the game in the OCG. It's about to hit the TCG towards the tail end of this year. Getting a head start on a different way to play the game that we all love, while the format is so good, seems like a good idea to us.
A lot of the stigma around Genesys comes from a misconception that the player base has. The tagline of yesterday's gameplay, today's cards, that has been attached to the format from the start was a horrific misrepresentation of what the format offers. Some players would get back into the game expecting something more akin to Edison, and feel somewhat lied to when Vanquish Soul cards are dropped against them. As said by Sam Lorenz, it's more like today's gameplay, today's cards, slightly more reasonable power level, not as catchy. Cards aren't designed to be as slow as Edison format anymore, but the format undoubtedly slows gameplay down to a more interactive back and forth pace, with irrefutably less floodgates and negations all around.
Another misconception is that the format is bad, a Blitzclick is tier 0. And whilst Blitzclick was undoubtedly the best deck in Genesys, and could have even been considered tier 0 if we were to just look at the top 8 from the NAWCQ, if we look at Europe, the top 8 is far more diverse, and if you look at the top 32 of both events, it's extremely diverse. The format is usually a good nesting place for people to enjoy and see success with their pet decks that would otherwise be subpar for the speed of other decks and power level of advanced format. Not to mention, while there has already been a significant action taken against Blitzclick, this would have just been the same occurrence of waiting for a ban list in Advanced. Though evidently, Genesys is updated quicker, with a point list expected with at least every core set, but also usually every side set. It has to mean something that in the TCG, Blitz isn't that good, but with the best deck in Genesys, it goes second most of the time, a task that is getting harder and harder with each format in the TCG.
Another misconception that people have is that Konami just makes the decks that they want playable to be the best decks. They allocate points to what they want to and don't unhit things fast enough. To that, we have to say this is the same thing that they do with a ban list. Points are constantly being lowered for decks in the same way that cards are taken off the list every time. For example, Labyrinth as a deck was functionally unplayable at the start of Genesys, where after a few lists, it's now a fully playable and competitive strategy.
swear! I don't want to buy a new deck every format. The cards are too expensive. The average price per engine is the same no matter what format you would play. But to further sell Genesys format, the points lists are frequently updated as a set comes out. You can tell which cards are safe to buy and not waste an investment. As for not wanting to buy a new deck every format, there are plenty of meta-relevant strategies that have survived and done well in Genesys for a while now. And some are even budget options. Stuff like Dark Lord and RDA, which have been competitive since their Genesys inception. As for staples, it will always be format dependent, but generally speaking, the staple prices are less than in the TCG.
Now it's time to talk about the current Genesys format. We've spoken enough about why it's a good time to begin playing the format, and given some brief indication about what the current state of the format is, but what actually is good right now.
So first off, Blitzclick. Obviously, we mentioned it before, but one of the best decks pre-update was Blitzclick, winning both the NA and EU WCQs. The deck usually looks to blind second and overwhelm the opponent by taking apart their board with very efficient engine. On screen, we can see Hanko Chow's list that won the NA WCQ, siding into a suite of trap cards that allow him to go first. A lot of the format essentially revolved around this deck, and so a lot of non-engine will be spent on cards focused on this deck, with a lot of more targeted cards in the sideboard. It's worth noting that this deck has now been pointed significantly since these results, but that does not mean it's going to be unplayable by any stretch. Whilst it's traditionally a going second deck, it's worth noting that some builds were specifically made to go first as well, and able to take advantage of the fact that other decks in the format were sending them first. The new points update has taken away the deck's ability to play in excess of mulch armies if it wants to maximize its full engine, as well as prevent the existence of hybrid decks that we saw for the EU WCQ, but we still expect this deck to be a top contender.
Fairy Tale is a deck in Genesys that is a far sight from what it is in the TCG. While it still aims to set up a commendable end board, long gone is the link suites and searchable draws. Now the goal is to set up a few interrupted layers to always reach that turn 3, in cards such as Once Upon a Fairy Tale, to recur many copies of the soft once per turn Fairy Tale Luna, backed up by Teller of the Fairy Tales. The common standouts as of recent have been the Necros and Endymion cards that act as level 4 spellcasters to spam bodies, but there is also untapped potential in the Avert engine given their new support, however they do require much more points. Alistair the Reminiscent is 4 points each, Iwas is 2, and Hypermote Aeon is a staggering 15 points each. Usually, the deck will spend 39 points to have a playset of Super Polymerization in the list, but the list shown here by Johannes Bauer at the EUWQ opts to go for a more traditional non-engine lineup to hit a wider room. The points update took a sort of monkey's paw style deal with the deck, severely pointing the cards in its engine at the cost of releasing Snare from its 85 point cage. While much like Blitz, we think the deck will still be good, it is unquestionably the biggest question mark in how the deck will adapt to be played given how integral Snow is in TCG, as well as the multitude of spellcast support cards that already exist. Because of the points update, it wouldn't be surprising to see Machigiru become a one-off, like most TCG lists, given it is accessible off of Wiccat, but this does give it a much more obvious choke point.
Sacred Beast is very efficient and somewhat low pointed for the card quality that it has, even after the points update. The deck's able to deck thin efficiently and set up its recurable loop of Martyr and Thunderclap. The Varudras coming in at 20 points is a little steep, but with the ease that the deck makes it, at the power level that it adds to the strategy, it seems like a mandatory inclusion. Given how each card manages to search for each other, its consistency is reasonable, while not having to worry about cards such as Droll and Lockbird or Ash Blossom on its pivotal starter Sacred Beast released. And if that wasn't enough, it gets to draw 2 cards just for playing the game each turn, and its reworked field spell, the Fallen Paradise. As seen in the deck list by Samuel Croker, the generic rank 10 pool is pretty stacked with utility, as well as being able to use powerful non-engine such as Sphere Mode, because of how well the deck can play through it. Additional points to this engine feel reasonable, but not making it unplayable, It does, however, mean that the hybrid version with Blitzclick that won the EUWCQ is probably no longer a viable variant.
Oh, Constella. What was expected to be one of, if not the best deck based on its predicted degeneracy with Mjolnir locks. The deck ended up functioning better as a compact rank 4 deck that gets to take advantage of the powerful cards they received in battles. Utopic Future's Exile at only 5 points is a steal for endboards, and it fits right at home, giving the deck both protection and a powerful interruption. While the rank 4 game plan is the more frequent one, the new towers like monsters and the other options it has to rank up into acts as a good way to vary its game plan. Arguably, Constella got hit the most with the new point adjustments, having points added to its searchers, endboard pieces, and its engine. However, this does not necessarily mean the deck is dead. Some people have gone for a package of Gem Knight Nephrim and 1 Quartz as a way to get light level 4 monsters. But on top of this, the Constella boss monsters still act as a very convincing way to end the game.
There are many other decks right now that are extremely viable in Genesys format. Just some quick examples, we have the top 4 Dark Lord list from the EUWCQ by Rio Perry, and the top 8 Doom Z list from the very same event by our very own Sam Lawrence.
Decks like Rollad, though pointed, are sometimes still viable. Evidently, by the RDA hybrid that got runner-up at the EUWCQ. The RDA cards, as mentioned before, still stand out, despite their age in the format. This deck, however, is mega dead now. Hekahan's Chimera also got top 16 at the NAWCQ, taking advantage of all of the Snatch Steal-less cards in a way that Advanced would not allow.
Given the recent unpointing of some of the cards, it's unsurprising to see Labyrinth do well. The lists are having to cut down on Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle given her steep points cost, but the deck is still managing to take advantage of the heavy engine it plays and powerful trap cards effectively. The deck resolving its game plan more reliably in this format where the points cost on its biggest adversary Ash Blossom is too high to warrant.
The points update itself also gave a few new decks a chance to try and make their way into the format. The release of Simple Spoil's Snake Eye from 100 to only 17 points has significant impact making strategies like Snake Eye Viking playable, helped further by changing around some points on the Viking cards themselves. Another deck that benefits from the release of OSS is Elf Note, a deck whose engine was already looking quite strong in powerful combo decks, gets another bonus now that its level 1 fire monster can be summoned from the deck.
7th Tachyon was a very brutal hit to decks like Constella, but it's definitely not the end of the world for those decks, as 7 Ascension could still be played as a way to search 1 copy of 7th Tachyon, so you wouldn't have to spend all of your points on the 7th Tachyon playset. Shadol got a pretty significant points rework, with them finally putting Winder behind a 100-point wall. Because of this, they have put the new Shadol cards down in cost significantly and added a few points to Shadol Fusion because of its versatility in other decks. With the way the deck looks now, it might have all the tools to be a convincing control strategy moving forwards.
After their new support in Chaos Origins, and now further points adjustments, the Phantom Knight cards look also very promising going forward. After testing the strategy beforehand, however, there did appear to be a lack of ceiling at times, and so maybe the core would be better suited for a rank 3 pile deck, perhaps alongside Goblin Biker cards that also had a significant points deduction.
We hope that this video has been informative, and that it can act as a way to jump into what is a very enjoyable and skill-testing format. We're dedicated to bringing more Genesys content on the channel, alongside our pre-existing advanced deck profiles, which will, of course, keep coming as long as we keep topping events. But now we want to know, what do you think of Genesys format? What kind of decks are you looking to play, and what excites you about the new points update? Please leave a comment.